Welcome to the DL Gaming Podcast, adding games both new and old to your backlog, one slightly inappropriate episode at a time. My name is Christian, and oh gosh, I feel 13 again. Joining me today is Amanda.
I've got a raging clue, but maybe I'm just a villain against your protagonist.
Ooh, exciting. What's this episode going to be about, guys? So this week, we are doing a little bit of detective work. We're presenting our research on two of the best games in these super specific niche genres that we're going to present to you. So the first one is villain protagonist detective games and multiplayer party games on Blizzard's world famous Warcraft 3 custom maps. That's right. I found a way to sneak custom maps on Warcraft 3 again into an episode. You're welcome, everyone. But first, Amanda, what's new?
Oh, man. Yeah. So new thing to me. I mean, of course, in honor of Nick and Emilio and Bobby not being here to hold down the fort, I feel it is my duty to hold down the fort to tell you guys what's going on in terms of, I know you've never heard it here before, Magic the Gathering. They've got a
Magic
new
the
set.
Gathering. I didn't know where you were going with that. I swear.
It was a space grab, you know. Anyway,
Right.
So Magic the Gathering Edge of Eternities just came out with their pre-release. It comes out officially, I think, next week, but I went to a pre-release draft last night at my local game store. Sorry, it could be a studio. I mean, that's where a bunch of great things are made. Like a whole bunch of drafts. So I did a sealed draft. I highly recommend everybody goes and does these things if you're into Magic. It's super fun. So there's some new mechanics to this, like station, which is kind of like crew. You have all these huge, massive spaceships, and you can have all these people enter the spaceship, kind of station it, use it to power, transform it into many things, typically a creature, but other things. They also have a warp, so you can like warp in, like in space and sci-fi. You can warp in, do your thing, warp out by going into exile, and then still be able to play it. So it's kind of like a little preview, which is really sick. So I think that this set is really exciting. It's set in a very high sci-fi fantasy space environment, and I just absolutely love it. I went kind of nutty for it in playing it, which was really funny at my draft, though, because so you usually play like 3 rounds and it's randomized. You join in by an app and they just link you up with somebody who's completely random. The store that I go to, I think, had 50 people. Maybe, well, close. It would have to be even. It would be
all
closer
playing
to
this
like
for
60.
the first time.
All playing this for the first time.
That's so exciting.
Yeah, so and it's very casual because a ton of people are looking at it the first time, or they've only had like a week or two to kind of get the strats in their head and stuff. And it's always such a mix. I saw dudes in their 70s. I saw children there. I saw all kinds of people there. There were a whole mix of people, and it was very, very fun. The first round that I played, I absolutely stomped the guy. I was playing like a black and white deck of just basically trying to get a whole bunch of creatures out onto the board and give them all little things. Be like, oh, if I tap this guy, everybody gets death touch, those kind of things. But the first guy, I just absolutely annihilated him. He was super nice. We ended up just spending the rest of the time for the first round talking about the Fantastic Four, which I saw that movie and it's also great. And I'm just on a space theme.
That's one of my favorites. That's one of my favorites from back in the day. So there's a new Fantastic Four.
Yes, and it's the Fantastic Four, I think the baby steps or beginning or something. It's basically that Mr. Fantastic and Susan Storm have a kid in the movie. And I don't want to spoil too much because it really was like awesome to watch. And the music, the music's so good. I've been having that stuck in my head all day. And last night,
I want to see this
last night I would get these cards that looked like super high space and awesome. And all I could hear in my head was Fantastic Four. And I'm like, yeah.
My brain's new melody. My brain's new fucking melody. Yeah.
You're welcome. It's now stuck in everybody's head. We're all going to space, guys. But it was so funny because the first guy I beat was really, really nice, really cool. The second guy was a guy that I was building this deck with, not too far from me. And he was like, oh, I've never even really played Magic. So I'm thinking in my head, like, A, this is actually going to be really fun because we'll work together. And B, I mean, I have a high chance of winning if I'm going against somebody that has never played. But then the guy was confused and he was like, oh, I'm sitting in the wrong spot, and then moved. And the guy that sat down was like, yeah, so I own a Magic the Gathering card shop and I've been I work in Magic.
Emilio shows up just at your table, dude. Are you kidding? Get this guy out of here.
And that guy beat me in 5 turns. And I was like, cool.
My God. Right.
like,
Okay.
great. But he was actually super nice. So it's a whole mix. It ended up kind of being like a mixed bag. I got a lot of really good cards and met some cool people. It's 10 out of 10. If you're into Magic, really, I think it's absolutely worth pushing through the social anxiety of playing and meeting a whole bunch of people for 3 hours, which sounds exhausting, but it's very fun. And you get a ton of stuff.
That sounds so fun. That sounds maybe the best thing about Magic. That I don't have any want to play Magic, really. I've dabbled in it. I have a couple Lorcana decks. Sometimes I get the expansion cards, and a couple times I've been to like an informal little tournament. But like, I don't know. Whenever you guys talk about Magic, it's just like there's this background hype of just this 20 years of knowledge that makes, I don't know, so many different types of people can come together around Magic. Whereas Lorcana, you get, people who like Disney, which some of them, those are the worst types of people. Some of them are great, but some of them are just the worst. I'm sure it's the same thing with Magic. I'm sure some people are the worst with Magic as well. But
true, but I would argue with these pre-release events, I've been to quite a few. Even that guy that was like, I own Magic and everything. Like, even then he was super nice. Even then he was super nice and really helpful and really explained to me how the new mechanic for Station works. That like made sense. And I was like, he was one of my favorite people to play with, even though I got curb stomped by him, but he was so good and it was so cool to watch him work, because I was like, this guy's a master and I could learn. But
he's cooking blue meth or equivalently,
It was red and green. But no, I think what I love the most, especially about like the pre-release events, is kind of what you touched on a little bit, that it was like there's this 20 years of knowledge in this, right? But the whole point of the pre-release is that everybody is getting to experience and try out how they're playing things for the very first time. So it does kind of create like an equalizer of a level to an extent. Of course, there are varying degrees, but it's so much fun. Everybody's very casual and just really wants to nerd out about Magic and about the set that's out, which is just so much fun and intoxicating to be in. It's like the coolest kind of card game night I could think of. But we're on a video game podcast. Tell me what's new. You had a game night, right? You had a game night. Tell me about that.
Okay, so we had a game night, on Friday. Taylor's been putting these together, one every month, and then one person from the show usually hosts. And that person, if it's me, just selfishly uses it as an opportunity to play games that I like. So I would call this game night a smashing success, not because of the amount of people that showed up. That number was 2, by the way. But because we played multiplayer Stellaris, which I haven't played for, I don't know, maybe three or 4 years, and a little bit of a history on Stellaris. They're on update 4.0, and every major update, so update 2, 3, and now this one, have basically completely overhauled how the game works in like a very significant way. This isn't Stellaris from 3 years ago, and this isn't Stellaris from 6 years ago. This is a new fucking thing. They added ships that can be grown into the game, like the Yuzhan Vong from Star Wars or the Wraith from Stargate. This is like, I don't know about you, but it's just like the coolest fixation. If I see grown ships in like any sort of media, I'm like, oh, you have me. This is my setting. This is for me. I don't know if you... do you have like a hook like that for anything in sci-fi where they just include this one thing? You're like, yes, I'm down.
I guess it's kind of planets, which is so easy.
Planets?
I would really hope. Yeah, I would really hope. Yeah, space, dude, gets me. I know, but no, I guess I should say that like a really beautifully world built planet. Like something with its own culture, its own world. That's exactly what drew me into Edge of Eternities and why this set at Magic was like the set that this year I was like, it's the one I need, and it's because of space and because they have all of this entire lore and story behind these different worlds and planets. I just love the epicness of it. If the space story and the IP feels epic, then I love it. Yeah, okay. And like Stellaris does a great job with that.
Yeah, a little bit of a birdwalk here. Did you ever see the Chronicles of Riddick?
Yes.
I loved it. For world building, there wasn't a lot of explicit world building. There was some exposition, but mostly it was just Riddick being a badass and like these Necrons coming down and wiping out this fucking planet. And it's side conversations about like how the universe works and how these Necrons. Anyways, fascinating. setting, and I would love to know more. Like, I would be down for anything in the Riddick universe just because of the richness of like how the setting feels. Anyways, sorry, that was a bird walk.
I agree.
I played Tree People. So we're like little offshoots from this giant tree, this giant sentient tree that grows on our home planet in Stellaris. And how we colonize other planets is offshoots of our tree. We have to send it there. And our ships are grown. And instead of my people needing food, they need energy because we do photosynthesis, I guess. And instead of my ships needing minerals, they need food. So they put the resources under like those street cups, and they're switching them around a little bit. But it's essentially the same kind of game, saying that I was a sucker for like the veneer of growing your own ships and growing the populace from photosynthesis and stuff, even though it was just a reskin. Stellaris, well done. Our curated podcast audience, I don't know if you guys are out there and you like strategy games. Listen to me. No, I'm begging you. I'm begging. We can play Stellaris together. Hey, maybe you haven't played it in 2 or 3 years. Maybe you haven't played it since it came out 2016. Maybe it's been so long. I'm here for you. DLG can be here for you. Next game night in 5 months. Put it on your calendar. We're playing fucking Stellaris. No, I don't know. I kind of felt bad because there was quite a few people interested in game night. And then I was like, let's play Stellaris. And everyone was like, let's not. let's get out of here.
Next time. Or a Stellaris night, for those that want it.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we can have an offshoot of Game Night, Stellaris Night, where it's just me and my friend Brendan.
I mean, if I can make it, I would join. I have Stellaris and haven't played it in a while, and it was always a game that I wanted to because I like strategy, but I am a bigger sucker for space and sci-fi, so that would be sick.
I think it's something that needs proper planning. Like, I'm not totally joking on the in 5 months thing, but I think I will set a date. If we can get like 12 people for multiplayer Stellaris, I feel like that's the number that really makes the game click, because then you're meeting people you're in a lobby with instead of like the AI. And it's just a lot more interesting, in my opinion, to deal with real people than the computers. But
oh, for sure.
Let's get to our investigative journalism now. And Amanda, do you know that we have bumpers on this show these days?
What? No. Oh.
Ooh, they're new.
Ooh.
Okay, that's a palate cleanser. New thing. We're on our investigative journalism. And Amanda, you're going to present the villain protagonist detective games.
That's right.
So what'd you find out here? What'd you find out?
So I went down digging. First, I feel like we got to start with defining our parameters, right? What is a villain and what is a detective game? So the villains, obviously, I feel like most people know villains. They're like, yeah, it's the bad guy. But like sometimes the villain, sometimes the bad guys have way more to their story, or the good guys actually are kind of bad. And so where do we put them? Are they the villain? Are they the villain protagonist? I don't know. But I did want to point out some favorite villains in video games and would love to hear some of your favorite villains in video games. Like for me, when I go way back deep into history, I feel like there's the classic, like Bowser's a classic. How does he always get away with Peach? Even at like, 2-3 decades later, he's still stealing Peach. That is a hell of a villain.
That's true, dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think we give him enough credit for that. I don't know if we think Bowser is like a super smart guy. Is he the one with the cannons on his shoulder? Oh, sorry, that's Blastoise. Never mind. Keep going.
They're cousins. They only interact with each other at the barbecue. Yeah.
We don't really talk that much, but that's hilarious.
Yeah. I also think of like, I don't know, the first one that came to it, because I'm thinking of when was I first introduced to like villains in video games, and it would definitely be Bowser. It was also Scar from the Lion King Sega game, which is also fun and a good one. Dr. Robotnik is another classic, I think, as well. Somewhat recent, you could argue, still classic, would be like Handsome Jack from Borderlands. I always loved Handsome Jack because he's such a little shit, and it's like, oh, he makes you want to be like, oh, fuck you, buddy, I will beat you. But he's so handsome. No, so I also did in my investigation, I also, I went to the internet. I said, okay, what's Reddit's top comment of the greatest video game villain of all time? And the number one comment, everybody, is the camera.
Let it sink in. Your camera? The camera.
Like the camera, the point of view, like fighting the camera all the time in video games because you can't get the field of view right, or you're trying, like, I feel like especially in a lot of like kind of strategy games, sometimes the camera itself gets in the damn way of being able to see what the fuck you're trying to do. Or like you can relate to this with grand strategy of like the constant, and MOBAs too, like constantly dragging the camera around.
I was just
and
playing
being
Warcraft 3, and there was this custom map with like 1,000,000 gigabajillion units. Like they've edited it so it's completely different than Warcraft 3. Obviously, that's why the custom maps are good. And the camera is like at FOV 9,000. Like I can see the entire map. I'm like, how the hell am I supposed to click on these? I'm trying to click on my hero. Like I can't. Like if I didn't assign a control group from the start, it's impossible to click on the map in this custom map. So I agree. The camera.
That's a villain being a good villain.
That's a villain. That's a villain.
It's a villain. Other things is the detective games. I feel like, and this is something I'd want to open up, and I'd love to hear from our listeners and our community as well, kind of what falls into detective games for them. Like, is it as obvious as you're a detective? You know, like I think of like The Return of Obra Dinn is like a case study for sure. Disco Elysium, those are very obvious of being like detective games. I feel like even Her Story and Mortality, a lot of Sam Barlow games are also very clearly defined and obvious of being kind of detective games. And I'd even say like Detroit Become Human is another game that I think of that's a lot like that. But I really would kind of make the stretch and the argument that a lot of puzzle games could be considered detective games because you investigate them as well too. Like with Blueprints, you're investigating these different rooms and trying to figure out, you know, and get to kind of the bottom of a point, which is that being a detective? I feel like it could be, or
I think that is a detective game. I think, and I'll throw this back at you. What do you think about Master Chief being a detective? I mean, he's trying to figure out how to save the universe. I mean, surely
and looking for clues, going to different parts.
Clues.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
So I feel like lots of games are actually detective games that we don't realize, you know.
Yeah.
But then I wanted to narrow the scope a little bit. You know, I got some of these clues and was like, all right, let's dive a little deeper. So I went into Steam and looked up, and I found their tags for protagonist, villain, detective games. And a lot of these are the police, which I think I'll refrain from making too much of a comment on that, but that is very interesting, is what I will say.
Yeah. Totally.
So, but I dived into some of them, which were really cool. Like a few that I really want to know is Sniper Killer is a game that you are the serial killer and you are the detective, which is so fascinating. So you're a serial killer who calls himself the Sniper Killer. And basically you kind of load in as the serial killer and you just have to focus on a kill shot of somebody. And then when you do it, it goes into a cutscene, kind of like, it reminded me so much of like the VAT system once you selected a body and you watch the cutscene of the bullet go from the gun down the bullet line of sight and into the person and then a blood splatter. Like that's how they do it.
In video games, by the way. Love that. Yeah,
it's pretty cool. It's very low grade graphics. It reminded me almost of Doom, which is fine. But what's neat is you get enough to know who your target is and kill them, but you don't get enough that when you're the detective, you can figure out your own murders, if that makes sense. So it's this cat and mouse game where you're both the serial killer trying to get away from the detective, and you're also the detective trying to catch yourself. Right?
Yeah.
It's super cool. That one I think was the favorite one that I found. The next two were very cop inspired, but I thought that they were very cool and still wanted to talk about them. So one of the games is called This Is the Police.
Yeah.
And it's a strategy adventure game management kind of game where you are managing staff and determining which calls and emergencies to respond to and sending out control units like some grand strategy game to adhere to the different emergencies going on. And while you're doing it, you have to work and make deals and be diplomatic to crime bosses so that way you can retire early and get out of the field before the crime bosses kill you.
So I've played this game a lot. This is the Police. It's so good. I went into it though not knowing that you were a corrupt cop. So I played the first couple days and then you get the phone call from the guy because you send some cops to, I don't know, break up some thugs, and these thugs are a part of this crime boss. And so he gives you the call and he's like, how's your wife doing? Blah, blah, blah. And so it's to retire. By the way, you hate your wife, which I also thought was kind of funny. It's to retire early, but they're also threatening you and your family and your children. And of course, threatening to blow the whole relationship up in like the press. And this is a detective game because if I remember right, it's been a long time since I play it, but you are trying to retire early, but you are also trying to figure out how you too can press on the levers of the people pressing your levers. So like they'll like go to a warehouse on the outside of town and it'll pop up, oh, the crime family is here. You can bust that warehouse because there's another crime family that's also putting pressure on you. So you're kind of playing the game as well. I don't know. I found that game awesome. I know This Is the Police 2 came out. Not sure what kind of reviews that had, but maybe that would be one that I have to get back down into. Sorry, another bird walk.
No, it was super cool. Yeah, like that one was, I think, really unique because a lot of I love detective games. Those are usually some of my favorites. I mean, I think in 2019, I pushed really hard for all you guys to vote for Game of the Year being Disco Elysium. I love that game so much. Yeah. And I mean, Detroit Become Human. I tend to gravitate towards these detective games because I like figuring them out. I like figuring out a puzzle. I like the choices matter that comes with a lot of these games. But I don't think I've ever seen such a massive strategy game that's like this. So that is cool. Kind of floating more into, I guess, my style. The other game I saw was called Dirty Cop Simulator. Very obvious that you are a villain protagonist detective. And the game, I think I really want to say that they made it in Unreal Engine 5. The graphics are amazing in this game, actually. And it looks and feels very Grand Theft Auto because it's open world. You can kind of do whatever you want. You're trying to not get caught. But I mean, like, they've got it where like you can snort cocaine and get hookers and like do illegal trades of weapons and cars and like do drag racing and grow your own drugs and things like that. And then you can like, I think one of the things I saw was that you were like solving a murder, but it was done by a crime syndicate of like drug lords. And then you bust the drug lords, take the drugs, do a bunch of the drugs, and then start selling them yourself, which is like, I mean, that's a dirty cop simulator great for sure. Gig. Yeah, great side gig. So that game looked actually very fun. And that one's actually not out yet. So that's more of an on the radar kind of villain protagonist detective game coming out. It's coming up.
Okay.
Yeah, coming soon. But the one that I played in full was Ring of Fire, the Prologue. And that very much is a like choices matter narrative point and click adventure kind of game. But it was very high art deco style. The artwork was really beautiful in it. It had really great writing. A lot of the writing was very funny and very like vulgar and gritty, and you felt like a badass detective that it was like very established going with the rookie. I do feel like this game had a lot of like the kind of detective tropes of like the seasoned, bitter, take no shit from no one main detective, and then the rookie who just like keeps kind of, you know, shooting the investigation in the foot, so to say, by like he just won't keep his mouth shut or pressing on things. So it was a really interesting dynamic off the gate with this game. But I really liked it so far, and it's mostly, I think, just kind of it's a prologue, right? So it's kind of a semi-demo to how the game is going to be, but it was really intriguing, and there was a lot of things, and they literally said in the intro, like, this is the kind of game where you're going to want to have a pen and paper and write down clues, because they won't always be that way. Yeah, and I agree.
Like
I have
me getting to Blueprints Day 13 and being like, I think I got to start writing this.
Yeah. Yeah, because what I liked about this that reminds me of the Sam Barlow games, actually, is that they have this entire like little database that you search for things. So you search for one person and it will pull up related things, related searches, or their address. And then you got to take that address and put it into the maps to go there, to talk to that person, to investigate them. And so it was really fascinating and really, really well made, I think. Like I said, though, the handwriting or the writing on this is solid,
and,
though.
Sorry,
sure,
what's
too.
the crime that or many crimes? Are you just
it's
like
a murder, and it's a crazy, like, choreographed murder, I guess, to not be too vulgar, because I felt like that was one of the I did post in the NSFW channel of our Discord one of the interactions that I had with the victim's wife, and it was fucking wild.
Okay.
So, very much an escalated thing, but essentially stems all around this murder is how they're starting it, is that it stems a murder, and they kind of allude to like, this was the murder that ruined my career or something. And so It just seems really, really wild, but it was a really cool one. And you get the feeling that, like, yeah, there's definitely, obviously, as with most of these games, there's more going on than beneath the surface, right? But
Yeah.
I love these games, and I love the idea of combining a villain with the detective, because I feel like a lot of times villains and detectives are similar in the sense that a villain will kind of look at something and react in a calculated way. At least a lot of the really good villains, they observe, they see what's going on, and then they do something that they take or that they're trying to get and figure out. And that is a little bit closer to the line of thinking of detectives. It's not just like, I'm big, I'm strong, I destroy things. You've got some of those villains, but a lot of villains, both in film and in video games, like, they're very sneaky, they're very calculated. They're cunning, exactly, and you need a lot of you need intelligent and cunning in order to be a detective as well. So I feel like they do such a good job when you have a villain protagonist detective that it really hits that duality of, like, not all law and problem solving and things like that can be good. It can be complicated, and that's normally more of a reflection of life, that, like, a lot of the complications can end up creating the savior for some people, but the villain in another person's story. So, like, this kind of thing is really fascinating to have that line danced, especially in a video game.
It's kind of like The Incredibles was like the first superhero movie to be like, oh, when you save someone by throwing a train into a skyscraper and it collapses, and then all those people are injured and sue you, that's actually like, you're creating huge problems, guys. I always found that and like, oh, Frozone, you're freezing all this stuff in town, and, like, the structures weren't designed to be frozen all the time. Like, come on, give us a break, dude. So anyways, yeah, sometimes you got to get dirty.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, that's the duality of life, right? Like, not everything's going to be so clear cut and this is good, this is bad. And I feel like in a game genre, like a villain protagonist detective, you'd really lean into that duality and kind of explore in different ways that. So I just think it's super cool, and I like that. And typically with a game that would be like a villain protagonist detective game, I'm sure they're just rampant. And the ones I've seen are rampant with, like, choices matter and things hidden. And I love that. I love a choices matter game. I think that those are so much fun. And in those kind of styles, you really are deciding whether you are going to be the villain protagonist or more of the lawfully good. So I think it's super cool, but kind of makes me think, I mean, we touched a little bit about it, but if you wanted to elaborate, like, is there a game that comes to your mind that isn't exactly traditionally a detective, but you felt like you did so much investigating in the game that you basically were a detective?
Oh, I had something and I completely forgot. I mean, the easy one that you've already mentioned because it's topical is Blueprints, but I played this physics puzzle game, which was a multitude of it's very hard to explain. A multitude of different planes of existence that were to infinity in every direction that you worked. And part of the puzzle was manipulating your plane of existence so you fell onto the next one to your up, down, left, or right, and you could solve these, like, physical puzzles. And that is, like, barely even touching on it. That game was called Manifold Garden, but that, like, you ever play one of these games and, like, the front of your head hurts, like you're doing math or like you're learning, like, something like difficult that's, like, nebulous and that you have no idea how to solve. That was like Manifold Garden. I was like, oh, okay, you're manipulating these planes of existence as if they're physical Rubik's cubes. That makes sense. And then the second puzzle came with the same concept, just like times a million. And I was like, oh, I have no idea what to do. And so I had to look for context clues. And of course, it's all solvable. But so I think that game comes to mind. And that game is kind of a play on, like, the Portal games, which are also about manipulating the environment in, like, satisfying ways and picking up context clues. Are those detective games? You're trying to figure out what is this cake? Why are all these graffiti on the wall? I don't know. Does that count?
I could see that. Yeah. I mean, I could see Half-Life and Half-Life 2 being also in that realm as well too. I don't know. Yeah. It's kind of like once you start really breaking it down, it's like, is investigating and figuring things out honestly just a part of playing a video game, or is it detective work? Like, it's
Yeah. Or do they have to call you Mr. Detective in the game for it to be a detective game?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Mr. Detective's my dad. You can just call me. I don't know. I don't know where this joke is going.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have the tiv. We're just detective. But I feel like I got a pretty good investigation on investigating and the detectives. But I'm really curious about your investigative journalism. And Warcraft 3 holds a special place in my heart because when I was also probably around 13, I played a lot of it as well. The custom maps are cool. So yeah, go ahead. Let's get into it.
Okay. By the way, I didn't miss the meta of the detective investigative journalism and then the detective game. Like, sorry if anyone else missed that. I'm just learning this now. It just popped in my brain. Clever, very clever, Amanda. Okay. So yes, Warcraft 3 custom maps shaped my 13-year-old brain, I would say, in fairly unhealthy ways. This is like what I did as a child. And my parents would be like, hey, don't you want to go outside? It's the summer. I'll be like, yeah, I can go ride my bike. I can hang out with my friends. That's all good. But then like, it would be 9 o'clock and the house would be going to bed. And I would like go on my hands and knees and like sneak into the computer room so that no one could hear me. And then I'd put like a towel over top of the computer and push the power button. So like the fans and the physical pressing of the button wouldn't make any noise. And then I would go to the monitor and put the dimness as low as it could go. And I would just sit there like a little fucking gremlin until 3 o'clock in the morning. Hopefully no one would notice me playing Warcraft 3 and having too much fun. So this is Blizzard's gift to the world, this custom map maker with all these awesome tools. And so I thought it would be the perfect kind of thing to do some investigative journalism on, because not only do I have all this formative knowledge that I'll never use, and I can never forget. Like, this is hardwired into the fucking back of my brain stem. Like, there's so many useless knowledge and so many of these custom maps that I will just never forget. It's actively hampering my adult life, I would say. I do not have the RAM that I should have, because like 25% of it is taken up by Warcraft 3 custom map information. So if you don't know Warcraft 3 custom maps, if you weren't affected like me as a child, basically what video games got from this in large was the invention of the MOBA. So specifically Dota, known as starting from Warcraft 3 custom maps, and now we have all sorts of MOBAs, and this genre has kind of blown up. We have League of Legends, millions of people watch it, they make all sorts of prize money. Kind of cool that it came from just people tinkering on a free map maker supplied by Blizzard, but also the popularization of a lot of genres, tug of wars, TDs, hero brawlers, and a bunch of other strategy niches, because of course Warcraft 3 is an RTS, so it would make sense that a lot of the custom maps would also be RTSs. Although, if you've played these custom maps before, you know that might not be the case. I played like a Mario Kart one the other day where like you were the first person driver of a cart, and you use the arrow keys to move and like the W to start your engine and stuff. It was like so smooth, but essentially what you're doing is they've just remapped the mouse click controls to your car and changed the camera position. So clever and fun.
That's so
but
cool.
That is on Warcraft 3. Yeah. So I'm just going to name some games out there. These weren't part of my investigative journalism ones that I went back to, but maybe these will like trigger in the back of your brain and be like, oh yeah, I played that game. I really miss it. So World War One-ish. This is how I learned about World War One. I remember going into grade 9 and my teacher being like, okay, this is like, these are the Allies. These are the Central Powers, the Ottoman Empire. You probably haven't heard about that. Here's what they're about. And I was like, I got this. I played it for 3 years. The last 3 years, I've been playing World War One-ish on Warcraft 3, which is like this historical map of trench warfare. Really fun. Element TD, you can find this on Steam right now with the same developers that made it on Warcraft 3. Kind of cool. It's a TD where you mix different elements together and adjacency bonuses, and kind of a cool spin on tower defenses. Europa, this is just like straight strategy map. Porn Slideshow 12, don't want to talk about that one. Greece, this is like an RTS where an ancient RTS. The first time I remember seeing custom models in a Warcraft 3 map, they had like triremes and hoplites, and they just put a lot of work into visually making the map awesome. And when I played that, my little brain was fired up. I was like, oh my God, I'm in ancient Greece, dude.
That's great.
Civilization Wars before the 3.1 update, Civilization Wars was the one where one person was the builder, one person was the army, and one person was the defender. Really cool. And then Porn Slideshow 11, 12 and 11, I think they were my best. So all of these games were fun, but what Warcraft 3 also did was bring the party game to PC way before Pummel Party, which I think is the only other Steam party game that I know. Do you know of any others? Like, there's that game where you're a bunch of dicks, that dick jousting, genital jousting. I think that's a party. There's probably others out there. Last Train to Wormtown, that's a party one.
Yeah, and they came out with the oh man, it's essentially The Office, the stationary one, or whatever, where you're working at corporate hell. But
yeah.
There's not a crazy amount of party games out there, but again, like you could kind of argue, like, is Golf It a party game? Maybe.
Oh, totally.
But
but
not quite like this. Like having a party somewhat strategy game is a little different. Yeah, for sure.
Yes. Yeah. And these were all very clever uses of the Warcraft 3 custom map engine. And so I'm focusing on specifically party games on Blizzard's Warcraft 3 custom map editor. And I played this little game called Run Kitty Kitty Run. This shit needs to be you are a priestess of the moon, which is like the kitty hero. She is like a big leopard cat, and there's like the elf girl with the bow and arrow on the back. Not super important. And you're clicking through a maze, and then randomly these NPC wolves will move in the maze, and you don't know which way they're going to go. And if your hitbox overlaps with the wolf's hitbox, you die. And sometimes there's items that you get that affect your hero that give you more agility so you can go faster. And you're in a race with 18 other people doing this maze, no attacking each other, just clicking on the map. Anyone can play this game, and it's so addictive. I feel like I played like 7 rounds today. I see a quizzical look on your face. Am I not? I'm probably not explaining this super properly.
No. This sounds to me like it's Pac-Man, but with cats and like a whole bunch of people.
Yes.
Isn't that sounds great.
Kind of similar. Yeah. You're moving around a maze. Well, I should say it's a race, but it is a maze-like race. So you are trying to find and get to the end and avoid these wolves, but it's not like Pac-Man where like you eat all the dots and the game is over. Anyways, Run Kitty Kitty Run. To the 18 people I played with today, or more than that, to the 57 people I played with today, because I played however many rounds, thank you for playing this game that I looked up on hiveworkshop.com, which is where people upload their custom maps to get like rated by the community, and they put like their patch notes there and stuff. And the last update was 2013. This can still fill a lobby. This is crazy. So
that's amazing.
Yes. The next one is called Uther Party. So it's Mario Party, almost exactly the same, except on the PC, 10 years before Pummel Party exists on Steam, which is insane. So one of the challenges on Steam, in my opinion, is that on Warcraft 3, you had this huge amount of people that could fill any lobby and who were willing to try out different experiences on these mini games that were free. All you had to do was buy Warcraft 3 and you were exposed to all sorts of genres. On Steam, there is a huge group of players that use Steam, but you are kind of filtered into your niches of enjoyment based on what appears on your Steam store, what emails you get from your wish list. Likely, these are all things you've kind of curated, and it's an algorithm essentially giving you recommendations on what you already like, which is great if you like a certain type of game, but it means that a lot of games that are good don't necessarily have the multiplayer community to lift them up. It's not like a rising tide lifts all boats situations on Steam. It's very much like everyone's playing that Dale and Dawson stationary supplies this week, and next week we're all going to play fucking another party game, right? The new hit thing. Whereas on Warcraft 3, you really got these alternating games like, oh, you want to play Run Kitty Kitty Run? You want to play Uther Party? You want to play Europa? Hey, let's take a chill break and do Porn Slideshow 13. If you don't know what those are, by the way, I'm not going to mention it, but it's just hilarious that those existed on Warcraft 3. Yeah, lots of kids probably shouldn't have been watching porn slideshows. We're definitely watching porn slideshows through Warcraft 3. Anyways, where was I? Uther Party. So this was one of the first Warcraft 3 games to take advantage of camera tools and to make a non-strategy game on Warcraft 3. Like, this was like earth-shattering. People were like, Uther Party, what's that? I bet you play as Uther, kill some heroes. No, you're dodging little wisps that are coming at you, and the last one surviving wins. You're playing a game of hot potato. I think you're passing around like a dragon phoenix egg or whatever, but you're passing it around. You're passing it to other players. Last one standing. You're trying to fire Uther out of a cannon and hit people on the other side, and if you hit them, they die and they're out of the Uther party. And you're playing tag. Like, this is just kid-like fun. Forget all the strategy. This is Mario Party on the PC, and it's so cool. Whoever brought this to Warcraft 3, this is like a giga galaxy brain idea, because I played a match of Uther Party not 10 minutes ago. Like, people are still enjoying this. It's crazy. A game that came out 10 years ago that's multiplayer only on Steam likely does not have lobbies that fill in under 5 minutes like on Warcraft 3. So,
or the loyalty, quite frankly, because like you said, last patch update was like 2013 and it's still going, and you had an easy time getting into lobbies and playing. Well, that's impressive.
That was Run Kitty Kitty Run. I didn't look up Uther Party, but it's an even older game and it feels and looks old. So I don't know if it's ever been updated. I have no fucking idea. The last one is something called Pimp Your Peon. This is one of my favorites. It is a little bit more of a strategy one, but basically it's a spawn, attack, defend game. You gain gold with kills, but to get kills, you need to send your army out. And of course, your army dies. By the way, your army is just peons that spawn at your main base. Now, with that gold, you can put little hats, swords, bat wings. You can upgrade your peon army. You can pimp your peons, if you will. And make all sort of like ridiculous combinations, super speedy peons, super strong big peons with big boots. It's all about when to feed, when to defend, and when to upgrade. A lot of Warcraft 3 games have these three sort of things you're trying to juggle, so that's not new. But putting it in like a goofy, low stakes, pimp your peon like environment, I think is new to Warcraft 3. And also, I haven't seen this done anywhere else on Steam. Where is my 18-player game where I just upgrade my army? I'm playing with 8, and I can finish a match in 15 minutes, and I can play a new game with someone else. I don't think it exists, unfortunately, because that sort of environment lends itself to Warcraft 3 and not Steam. So I think Warcraft 3 Custom is just kind of like a nerdier copy of the Flash game ecosystem that was going on at the exact same time, except what Blizzard gave the custom map system wasn't just these tools. It was a stable multiplayer peer-to-peer connection system that a lot of Flash games didn't have. So a lot of the multiplayer experimentation in gaming, I think, did come on Warcraft 3, StarCraft 2, StarCraft, and kind of spiral out and enter the mainstream from there. And if you go back onto Warcraft 3 today, I think you will have a great time, and you'll still see people experimenting with what the engine can do, and fun games that can be made on a. I know Warcraft 3 Reforged came out maybe like 5 years ago, but Warcraft 3, the original idea of Warcraft 3, this is a really old game, and people are still making maps, and I think that's beautiful. I played this one today. The map maker was in the lobby. He said, oh yeah, I just finished. This is the first draft of my map. I was like, cool, tell me all about it. It was like a historical Rome versus Carthage game. And like these historical events would pop up and tell you like a little bit about what's happening at the time. You could also get those historical events to fire by doing something historical in the war. It was so fun. It was so well done. And like maybe 100 people are going to play it, or maybe 1,000 people are going to play it. This person will make no money. He's just doing it for the love of making something. And that's beautiful. So anyways, Amanda, that's a lot of me talking. Sorry.
I think that is beautiful, dude. Like, yeah, I mean, it's iconic, right? Like, and as you said, it's just such a monumental. You want to talk about like something that started the path of changing so many things. I really do think Warcraft 3, especially the custom map making, is absolutely up there with causing so many of the great games that we have today. Started there.
Yes. And people who listen to this podcast, Spotify analytics tells me you are between 25 and 45, and most of you out there are men. So you are in the target market to have played Warcraft 3 custom maps. So if you have those sort of formative experiences, no matter who you are, what age you are, or male, female, whatever, come to the Discord and tell me about them. And I would love to keep playing these custom maps every so often. I kind of want to do like an interview where I talk to people who made custom maps back in the day that got really popular in the Warcraft 3 ecosystem and see where they're at now. I know at least one of these guys who made World War I-ish. His name's Purple Poot. I saw that he was a developer on a game called Supremacy 1914, which is a very similar type of game on Steam. It has like really deep pay to win mechanics, unfortunately, but interesting that he decided to go there. And maybe a lot of developers kind of cut their teeth on Warcraft 3 custom maps.
Yeah. Should interview whoever made Uther Party, dude. That's probably
if you're
run
out there,
kitty run.
Yeah, if you are listening to this podcast and you're like, I'm the inventor of Uther Party, please send me a message. I want to talk to you for sure. So you said you played Warcraft 3 custom maps, a lot of it. And obviously you were a kid with access to the internet, so you played a lot of free Flash games. The discussion point I wanted to bring up was anything really formative in your mind that comes back to you that, you know, still makes you smile, basically.
10,000%, dude. The first thing that came to my mind was all the Homestar Runner games and like Strong Bad in them, and like I just remember there was all
that was a blast from the past. I had a physical reaction to you saying Strong Bad. That's pretty nuts.
Yeah, I played a lot of Homestar Runner. I can't think of the whole website that they had like all of them on, but I just remember the class. Oh, for sure. Yeah, like and the OG RuneScape. Yeah,
OG,
that as well.
Yeah.
You're like /sleep. Like I need to go to bed. But like, all of that. Yeah, but that was so much fun. And I guess I don't know if this is considered truly a Flash game or free game. I remember Neopets and Gaia Online really taking over like the school and all of us playing that as well too. But I feel like that's kind of a stretch on the free or on the fun Flash games. Probably definitely more of a free game. But yeah, definitely Homestar Runner games for sure. What about you? Like what's the fun Flash game, free games that came to your mind?
So I loved the Empire Management MMO strategy like games that were like grid based. They didn't have a lot of graphics. Games like Tribal Wars or O Game, those ones I spent a lot of time on. When I remember this like it was yesterday in grade 6, the most popular kid in my school, by the way, there's only 30 of us because it was a small town, but the guy who was like so good at sports and everything, we were talking outside the gym and he was like, I'm going on vacation and I don't have anyone to watch my Tribal Wars. And I was like, what? You play Tribal Wars? I play Tribal Wars too, dude. He's like, yeah. And he showed me in the computer class, I don't know, later that week or later that day. And he owned like 150 villages. He was like he was like maybe one of the best Tribal War players on the server. I was like, wait, what? That's crazy. So those are the type of games that I spent a lot of time on that only really a child or maybe someone who's retired can afford to spend time on, because it was those ones where you get like attacked in the middle of the night and people like memorize your sleep schedule and when your units were out so they could wipe you when you couldn't react and stuff like that. So not fun for no lifers, but hey, If you are wheelchair bound, no, that's actually not. If you are hospital bed bound and you cannot move, all you have in front of you is a computer and your hands, I think you would be a very good Tribal Wars player. Or if you're in grade 6. Yeah.
Oh,
so those are what come to mind.
Well, nice. I hope that all of our listeners enjoyed our investigative journalism and the deep dives that we did, both down Warcraft 3 custom maps and investigative detective games featuring Ring of Fire Prologue. So yeah, let's move on into what is our community up to? What
are they up to? But before we get to what are they up to, thank you, Truthbringer, and everyone who supports us on Patreon, giving us money to keep doing this show every week, bringing you new games to add to your backlog, just hearing us talk, hearing us riff back and forth. We really appreciate it. I appreciate every listen and every comment, but that some people go above and beyond and feel the need to send us money, real hard dollar bills. That's pretty fucking crazy. So thank you. Thank you for that. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much, Truthbringer. Moving on to the listener questions and corrections that we've got. We've got quite a few. Featuring Warconius, as usual. We're starting with that he enjoyed Death Stranding and Kojima's segment with some interesting facts about Death Stranding. He said that Sony met with Kojima in 2015 and Sony gave him a check up to $100 million without seeing a script, demo, or knowing the genre of the game. Sony then gave him access to Guerrilla Games, or Horizon, and Decima Game Engine with support for free, and that's why Horizon Zero Dawn characters show up in Death Stranding. So Hideo uses film and music for inspiration. So with Death Stranding, it was Tarkovsky's Stalker from 1979 and Low Roar. But literature usually is the most important for the themes. In the case of MGS5, it was Nietzsche, and in Death Stranding, it was... But in Death Stranding, it was Kobo Abe's short story, The Rope. So his question is that Hideo's games have influenced other contemporary studios, and he would say that Naughty Dog and Remedy are the best examples, but can we think of another studio that has influenced contemporary ones, such as BioWare influencing Larian or Bethesda influencing CD Projekt Red?
Oh, I mean, this is a cop-out, but since we just went on a Warcraft 3 tangent, not a studio. Well, yeah, Blizzard, they didn't make any money from it. And I think whoever was at the top probably didn't like that. And it wasn't intentional, I don't think. But having this playground where people could experiment and make games for free with the multiplayer connectivity handled for them, had a huge effect on the games that we know and love today, because that is in a lot of people's brains. That was the formative experience of a lot of people who are making games today. And I don't want to make this a generational thing because I sound like, an old man saying get off my lawn, but I have a nephew who plays a lot of Roblox. And I think the insidious thing with Roblox is there are paid cosmetics and things you can buy in game with Robux, and part of why you want to make a popular map is because the more people that play it, Roblox will pay you real money. And so a lot of mechanics that get people playing and keep people playing are encouraged in Roblox games as like a market incentive. And these are kids running these game development studios, as it was in Warcraft 3 as well. But it's not like Blizzard was paying us, because then we would have been incentivized to make maybe bad choices in games, like maybe addicting, not fun.
Yeah, to me, I think that a game that has influenced other studios, I always think of just kind of like 343 and Bungie influencing Destiny and kind of some of those other games. But to me, I'm more familiar with games that influence other games. Like, I feel like Minecraft really influenced the crafting survival genre. PUBG, starting with the Battle Royale, just obviously exploded into a whole nother genre. And they, I think, even ended up inspiring Minecraft Hunger Games. So, like, that's pretty
reverse
fun.
Inspiration.
A reverse inspiration, yeah. So... but I feel like Warconi has really nailed it on the head of the two studios that I was really thinking of the most too, of being BioWare to Larian and Bethesda to CD Projekt Red. But it's always so interesting to me how many of these developers go to different studios and really bring the previous studio with them, right? Like Naughty Dog for sure definitely does a lot of that, but most of the other devs and studios will do that as well. So I always think that that's really cool. But yeah. So J Beck Quest asks, what's a game that you enjoy that you're quite sure no one else has heard of? And for me, I mean, I know that quite a few of you guys in the community have heard this game, but I still feel like not enough people know about it, which is Milk Inside of a Bag of Milk Inside of a Bag of Milk. Not only is that a fun game to say, but it's a cool game. I really like it. I like that one and the counterpart to it, which was milk outside of a bag of milk outside of a bag of milk. And both of those two games really, I think, just really reflect a lot on like mental illness and how cool they are. And I just feel like, yeah, nobody's ever heard them. You know, and anybody that asks me like, what kind of indie games you like? And if I tell them that, then I get to see. I'm like, are you an indie gamer?
Are you in it?
Are you in it? Yeah. What about you?
Yeah. That was our outro music a while ago. It's the deciding track, and it's, I don't know, whenever you're like deciding an option in the game, it goes like beep, 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 boop, boop, beep, boop, boop. I'm doing a terrible job.
You nailed it. Sounds exactly like that.
Yeah. My game is Ultimate General Civil War. So this is very positive on Steam, and it has 7,700 reviews. So we would use anywhere from 4 to 10 times the amount of reviews is how many people have likely purchased the game. So maybe 70,000 people have played this game. So that's not super niche at all. Like, this is kind of a more popular game, but maybe for our audience, it is, because basically you play either the good guys or the bad guys in the Civil War, and you're taking an army from the start to the end of the war, and the casualties that army takes and the equipment that you decide to outfit your companies with and the people you decide to promote are all kind of, living in this RPG like way to run an army on a grand strategy game. You really get, I think, to connect with like the names that keep popping up who are running your companies, like, oh, so and so charged the ridge, and he has like a heroic trait. You're like, oh, of course he broke orders and charged the ridge. Oh, Sherman, of course, And I've never seen that in a grand strategy game before. A lot of the times in these games, people are just like these nameless entities. It's like, Orc 1 died to Elf 2. Like, who gives a shit? And this game doesn't feel like that at all. So Ultimate General Civil War, love the game, but if you have heard of it, don't shoot me, because it's not so niche. I'm not so sure no one has played it, but I'm also not sure that no one here has played it. So that's my answer to this question.
All right. Yeah. No, I think that makes a lot of sense. I don't know if I don't think I've heard of that either. So
okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And then I think for the rest of the questions, we could probably hold them off into the next episode, because I feel like Warconius' next question, as a tribute to the late Ozzy Osbourne, was fantastic. But I feel like Bobby would be a really good person to add and include this in with.
All right, let's hold it off. That's a good call. Okay. Yeah. Haha, take that, Warconius. Yeah. You'll see you next time, even though we already answered one of your questions this episode anyways. Yes. Okay. Oh, I'm going to hit the bumper. I don't know if it's good that I say I'm going to hit the bumper before I hit the bumper. I think I'm supposed to just hit it. Anyways, I'm new to bumpers. My name is Christian. Joining me today was Amanda. And to play you out, we're going to hear the main theme song of Shogo Mobile Armor Division. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.